Memes is asking, how should observers like us consider scientific measurements? I think the point about measurements is that we are trying to take certain things into our internal experience. And there are different kinds of things we can measure. If we don't have an electronic amplifier, we can't measure small effects that are electrically represented. If we don't have a microscope, we can't see very small things. Those are the, in a sense, that scientific measurements provide, and the sensors and measuring devices we have provide a way of extending our own built-in biological senses to have a broader domain of access to the world. And I think the same is true with kind of methods of analysis, paradigms, and so on. There are things where we just sort of say, oh, that's just random stuff out there. And then we have some paradigm for thinking about it, and we say, no, that's really a blah, blah, blah. We have a name for it and so on kind of thing. And I think that's kind of, and what we're doing as we come up with different measuring devices, as we come up with different methods of analysis, different paradigms, we're gradually expanding the domain, ultimately in rulal space, that we have access to as observers. And we're gradually expanding the domain where we can pull in kind of things happening out there in the world into our internal experience. And I think that it is interesting that, I mean, I don't really understand. It's something one should study, kind of this funnel of just how far are we getting in rulal space? How far are we getting, all these measuring devices? There are 10,000 different kinds of units that we measure. We inventoried all of them for Wolfram Alpha, for example. How far did we get with this? If we look, actually, an interesting question, very simple historical question, is how have the number of such units increased over time? The specifics of units have probably changed because they've become more standardized, and it's not like every city-state has its own weights and measures type thing. But if we look at the kinds of things, length, time to the -3, mass to the -2 or something, what forms of thing have we tried to measure? I'm sure there's a growth of that over time. It'd be interesting to see what that is. And that's kind of in a sense, that's the progression of our ability to observe things in the world. Be an interesting thing to look at.